Okay, we're back, and I have painted in most of these leaves. FYI, I left this one out that's in front of the house because I want to be able to put a little wash on the house, and I don't want this green from these leaves to bleed into it. So now I'm left with this area up here, which I want to just kind of fill in more or less and just leave like the sky in between. So I still have, actually, here's another very important tip. No matter how much paint you mix up, you're always going to need more. So I actually ran out. So I'm mixing up a little bit more and testing it to make sure I'm close to what I already had. I think it needs a little more red. One of the other advantages to having a very limited palette of number of colors that you have on your palette is it's much easier to come back and mix up more paint if you have to. However, avoiding it is still a good idea. Still going to add just a little more red into there. And the red actually dulls down the green, so it's not quite so bright. That looks pretty good. I'll just water it down a little bit. Okay, so now my plan is to just kind of fill in a lot of this area with the dark green, just leaving little peaks of places through for the sky to peek through. Checking back with the painting as I go along. This is a beautiful sunny day in the Catskills in New York State. However, very, very windy. But despite that wind, I am going to get a walk in today. That's my plan. Just going to bundle up and get out there. And what I do to remind myself of why this is a beautiful day is that snow will be coming. So, in just a few short weeks from now, this will be an extremely beautiful day. Just kind of reminding myself of that. And I can sort of see that the leaves kind of go in a motion like this. So that's kind of what I'm trying to mimic in here. And I think I'm going to take some of this and water it down. Make a lighter color to be able to drop in here too while I'm working. So it's not all just this really dark color. And I'm actually painting right over top of some of these leaves that I have already done. Yeah, we still have a lot of really dark sections here. I have sort of this branch that you can see in here. I sort of have that in there, and I'm probably going to darken that up a little bit. I've painted it so it shows in some spots, and some spots it's covered up by the leaves. you sort of want to remember when you get out towards the end of the branches, then you can have less of this filled in places. Another tip is to take the time to step back and check your progress. Make sure you're headed in the direction you want to be going in. And this section down here is pretty dark. I also sort of like to change up the paint every time I sort of dip it back in. That's why I've got more than one color going here, so it's not all exactly the same. Sort of continuing this little curved kind of leaf shapes. And this is sort of an area where you want to be careful not to get too carried away. That is definitely the reason why you want to be able to step back, look at it, make sure you're still going in the right direction, filling in all these leaf forms. Checking to see just how much of the sky am I leaving. Okay. I'm actually going to go back and mix up a little of this lightest green and throw just a little of that in there, here and there. Just kind of putting it right on top, letting it blend into some of the areas I've already painted. So don't fill in too much out to the end of these leaves that we've already done. Just a little bit. Okay, step back and look at it. Dip it up a little bit. So here got fairly dark. Add a little bit more of the dark over here. And you're much better off stopping sooner rather than later, because you can always go back and add more. But if you wanted to go back and pick up some of this dark color off of there, that would be a very difficult thing to do. The other thing I find is when you're doing something like this, you tend to end up making patterns, even though you're trying to make it look very haphazard and without a pattern. very easy to end up with a pattern that you really don't want. Okay. Alright, so there's where that's where we're at, and I think that's pretty good. Break up this little form right here a little bit. Also, I just want to make sure that my tree branch still shows, so I'm darkening that up a little bit. Just so you have an indication of this branch that's going through. Okay, and that's all I want to do with that. And like I say, you can always come back and make edits, but if you overdo it, you really can't get that back off. That, especially that dark green, is not going to come back off. So that's good for now, and the next section will be the roof.